Okay, students, this is an actual student essay that was written for me a couple years ago on this very assignment. The assignment was not on are humans inherently good or evil, but the assignment was on an argumentative essay on a topic where they had to pick a choice. So this particular student did a good job of writing this one. This was about in some countries the Islamic veil that the women wear over their face has been banned, and this student took the side that they shouldn't ban that. Anyway, it's a good essay. But I really have two main goals for this video, and that is, one, to show you this example and to connect it to the outline that we had in the last video. Okay, I'm going to show you how this essay is actually connecting with this outline. Okay. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to do this citation. So how to do the works cited page at the end, how that actually looks, and how it works with the in-text citations that you need to have in your essay. Okay? So, first things first. I'm just going to go right to the very beginning. This is the opening paragraph. And I'm going to show you that this very first one here, this is what we would call a hook, okay? So if you'll notice on the thing here is we need to have a hook as a quote, a fact, an example, an anecdote, or statistic, okay? And so lawmakers create laws with the intention of defending the best interests of the people. And that really that's grabbing our attention. So that's what laws are supposed to do. I don't think it's really grabby, and it's not the best hook I've ever read, but it's to the point. And goes right, gets us thinking about what lawmakers are really supposed to do. Okay, the second thing on the outline is general information about the topic. Okay, you can see here. Let's see if this does that. Some of these interests include personal freedom, religious freedom, and the rights for all citizens. However, sometimes the laws designed to accommodate the majority end up hurting an equally important minority. This is precisely what is happening to women who have chosen to wear the traditional burqa veil in France. Okay, I actually love this little background, because it's really doing two things. It's giving background information, but then you notice in it, and it's really general, it's wide, it's talking about personal freedom, religious freedom, and then it works its way down to a narrower topic, which happens to be the burqa. So it's introducing us to the topic. All right. And then it gives a little more detail about that. And then it goes into the thesis. Okay. So I would really say that these last two are kind of the thesis. Here's the law. And then here is the main point they're going to make. And this happens to be written in what we call a 3-point thesis. And again, it's a good way to structure your essay. But as you get older and more mature, you may want to branch out and do it differently. But the thesis for this particular essay is, in doing this, the French ban on Islamic burqas threaten women's rights. That's the first point they're going to make. Violates principles of freedom of religion. That's the second point. And restricts personal identity. What's really cool about that is you should expect to see those now in the body paragraphs that are on the side of this topic. And so let's see if it does that. The first one is women's rights, threatens women's rights. Okay, so it says right off the bat, women's rights are abused by this restrictive law. So again, that goes right in. This is our transition sentence, and it's jumping right into what they're going to argue, the supporting idea. Very good job. Okay, now I'm going to get into a little bit about what the evidence is. If you'll see, the evidence here supports a claim, and it's got to be outside information. It's got to be a quote or a paraphrase. Okay, so let's see what it says. This law places the government in a position that views Muslim women not as individuals but as burqas. French President Nicolas Sarkozy said the law is protecting women from what he called subservient and debasement. However, by banning the burqa and the niqab, he is forcing women into a state of subservience and debasement by making them subject to this law. Now, this is not a quote. There's a couple of things that are quoted, but there's a name here, okay? And so this particular author, this particular student, didn't use what I call signal phrases, where maybe this person name was John Jervin. So a signal phrase would be, say, John Jervin suggested that this law places, right? But they didn't do that. They just put Jervin. So what does that mean? Well, if I go back to the works cited page, what we put in in-text citation is actually what should be the first thing in the works cited. Okay, so we should see that. Yep, and it was Tarena Gahar Jervin. All right, so we know that that particular information that this student paraphrased came from this source, and that's what you have to do. So I'm kind of doing both here now. I'm showing you the works cited page, and I'm showing you how they use that information inside the essay. Okay, so I'm excited for you to learn this if you haven't done it before. But using outside information is very powerful. All right. They actually go on and do it a couple more times, So this person is following that rule of using more than one source. Now, I'm not requiring that, but it's a good suggestion. And this right here would be this part right here would be what we call the argument discussion. Okay, so if I go back here, this would be the argument discussion. Interpret the evidence and discuss why it matters, right? And that's what they're doing in this part. How can one argue that one's clothing defines her or her voice? Anyway, it goes on and explains this. All right. So the other paragraphs, I'm not going to go through the whole essay. I would recommend that you do, though, get a feel for how well this person argued this debate. Did a really good job, a really good student of mine. While we're at it, I'm going to throw in one more thing. The MLA expects you to have a user or your last name and page number of the document in the top right hand corner. Notice it doesn't show up on the first one. And you can do that simply by going to header in your Google Drive, and you create a header with page numbers, and it will do it. And there's just a little button that you click that tells you to not do the first page. Anyway, so it'll be your last name. So if my last name, if I wrote this, it would be Christensen 2. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the works cited. All of these names that you're seeing here go back to this works cited. In MLA, we center the word works cited. And then if you'll notice, these are all these sources are hanging indent, which means that the first line of the source hangs out further than the rest. You see that? Okay. And you will notice that these are in alphabetical order. So A is before J, J is before K, K is before M. So your works cited list has to be in alphabetical order. All right. The next lesson will actually teach you how to find these sources using Google Scholar, and then of course how to use the citations, or how to find and use those citations as well. Okay, that's the lesson on the student example and what the works cited looks like. And again, anytime you have questions or needs, come and see me.